So today, I want to bust 5 myths I hear all the time about executive assistants, especially from smart, overloaded leaders who don't even realize what they're missing. I started at BELAY as an executive assistant, and now I'm the CEO of the company I used to support. So I've seen firsthand how powerful the right assistant can be, not just for your productivity, but for your peace of mind. And here's what I've learned. Most leaders don't reject the idea of getting help. They just quietly assume they haven't earned it yet, or they've tried it before and it didn't work, and now they just don't trust it will. Let's walk through the 5 most common misconceptions I hear about EAs and what actually makes this partnership work. Misconception number 1, an EA is a luxury. I'll hire one later. This one keeps smart leaders stuck. They tell themselves, I'll wait until I'm bigger, busier, more successful. But if your brain is full, your calendar is packed, and your decisions are stalling, you're already there. An EA isn't a reward for success. It's what allows you to sustain it. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity for any leader who actually wants to grow without breaking in the process. Having a second brain in the business, someone who knows your rhythms, protects your time, and helps you focus on what matters, that's not indulgent. That's how you stop needing a vacation just to feel like yourself again. If I had to choose between a week off to recover from burnout or the kind of support that keeps burnout from happening in the first place, I'd choose the support every time. For me, the shift happened the moment I realized I was spending more time managing the work than leading the business. I was constantly rescheduling calls, triaging my inbox, prepping for meetings, working late nights, and telling myself it was all part of the job, but eventually I saw the cost. My energy, my creativity, my clarity, I was depleted. That's when it clicked. An EA isn't a luxury. It's not the reward you get after you've made it. It's what allows you to keep going once you have. Cameron didn't just take tasks off my plate. She gave me back the capacity to think, lead, and make decisions without constant distraction. And that changed everything. Then there are the leaders who think they're not ready yet. To them, I'd ask, what would be different if you weren't spending your best hours on things someone else could do better, faster, and with way less friction? If your time is valuable, and it is, then the smartest investment isn't in doing more. It is protecting your capacity to do what only you can do. You're not too early. You're just in the perfect place to delegate like you mean it before burnout forces your hand. Misconception number 2. I'll just use ChatGPT to do it for me. ChatGPT doesn't understand your calendar constraints. It doesn't see your blind spots, your energy dips, or the nuance of your leadership style. It won't follow up on that client you said let's touch base with soon and then forget. A great EA is both strategic and technical. They're curious, fast-moving, and genuinely obsessed with saving you time the right way. One of my favorite ways my EA uses AI: strategic meetings. Before, I'd scribble notes, trying to capture every decision and action item while also leading a conversation. Now, I don't write a single thing down. Cameron uses a tool called Fathom that records the meeting, generates smart summaries, and pulls out every single action item. By the time the meeting ends, I've got a clean, clear recap without lifting a finger. No more context lost, no more trying to remember what we said we'd follow up on, just space to be fully present because the note-taking is already handled. That is the power of an AI-enabled assistant. I show up to lead, Cameron shows up to capture, and together we move a whole lot faster. Still, there is one thing I would never automate, and that's my calendar. Cameron just gets it. She understands my priorities, she knows when I'm stretched too thin, and instinctively respects the importance of white space in my calendar. She has a deep understanding of how I work, when I need focus time, and when I'm available for high-level meetings. She doesn't just manage my schedule, she curates it in a way that allows me to lead with clarity. It's not something I could ever replicate with automation. There's a level of nuance and personalization in how Cameron handles my calendar that simply can't be captured by a tool. She knows my preferences, the ebbs and flows of my workload, and how to protect my time for the things that matter most. Having someone who truly understands my rhythm allows me to stay in my zone of genius and lead without the constant friction of managing every detail myself. Misconception number 3. I'll just hand things off as they come up. This one sounds easy, but it fails in practice. Handing off tasks as they pop up turns your EA into a task rabbit instead of a strategic partner. What works is rhythm. We meet weekly. We stay aligned. We keep a shared list of decisions and priorities and open loops. Delegation without rhythm breaks. Delegation with rhythm scales. When I stopped delegating reactively to my EA and started doing it systematically, the shift was game-changing. Previously, I was constantly reaching for the urgent task and running on a never-ending treadmill of requests. My My EA would get caught in the whirlwind too, trying to keep up with whatever popped up, and it led to chaos, miscommunication, and inefficiency. But when I transitioned to a more systematic approach, I began setting clear expectations, structuring our workflows, and prioritizing tasks in advance. We started using a shared system to track and categorize tasks, set up structured weekly one-on-ones, allowing us to focus on the right things at the right time. And this proactive approach gave us both clarity and saved us from scrambling. It also helped my EA feel more empowered and in control, and that she could anticipate my needs and take ownership of the task without waiting for me to direct them. The result was smoother operations, more strategic delegations, and a much more cohesive partnership. One process that used to live entirely in my brain was managing my schedule. Everything from meetings to personal commitments to last-minute changes. Now my EA runs this seamlessly. She handles not only the logistics of scheduling, but also ensures that I'm prioritizing what matters most, continually assessing and adjusting based on shifting priorities. The system frees me up to focus on high-level strategy while I trust that my day-to-day time management is being handled with precision and foresight. It's one of the most amazing ways delegating has empowered me to be a better leader. Misconception 4. But what if they mess it up? It's not that you don't have enough to delegate. It's the idea of handing something off feels risky. What if they don't get it? What if I have to step in anyway? So you just keep doing it. Not because it's the best use of her time, just because it feels safer than being disappointed. But holding on doesn't protect the business. It just prevents it from evolving. Delegation isn't about blind trust. It's not about handing your baby off to an offshore worker and holding your breath. It's about choosing the right support and giving that person the chance to learn how you work. My company has over 2,000 assistants on the bench that we've already vetted. They are professionals. They're all based in the US. They're trained in AI and every industry standard operating procedure. They do accounting, marketing, admin, whatever, and they don't need micromanaging. They need clarity, expectations, and space to deliver. Will they do it your way in one day? They'll get it pretty close because we manage the onboarding, so you're not starting from scratch or training someone from the ground up. Your job isn't to micromanage. It's to show up with clarity, and we'll handle the rest. That's how you stop carrying everything and start leading again. We had a key stakeholder meeting coming up, one that's normally Eastern time, but this time we were operating in a different time zone. My EA accidentally sent the invite out in the wrong time zone. She realized the night before and messaged me, clearly panicking. But here's the thing, I didn't respond with frustration. I paused, I listened, and asked what she had already done. She had already got the problem solved. She'd been working with the venue to shift the time and was preparing communication to update the team. She didn't just come with a mistake, she came with the solution. And I told her, this is how trust gets built. Not from getting everything right all the time, but from owning it when it goes wrong and showing up with clarity and action. We moved forward, the meeting went smoothly, and it ended up being a non-issue. How I handled it mattered just as much as she did. But staying calm and leading with trust, I gave her the space to grow, and she proved she could rise to the occasion. That's how strong partnerships are built. And sometimes letting go, even messily, is still better than holding on. Like any good thing, it takes time and trust, and I knew that my EA and I would put in the time and effort. I had given her the resources to execute. The truth is, delegation doesn't start with a perfect SOP. It starts with trust. And once I admitted to myself that I did trust her, the only thing left was to prove it with action. So I let it go, imperfectly, messily, and nothing fell apart. In fact, everything started moving faster and smoother because I wasn't the bottleneck anymore. That moment confirmed what I already knew. Holding on might feel safe, but it slows everybody down. Letting go is where real leadership begins. Misconception number 5. An assistant isn't income producing. First of all, you're wrong. I've seen EAs catch billing errors that saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've seen them implement systems that revived stalled deals, flag lost invoices, and brought in revenue nobody else was tracking. No, they're not pitching investors or closing contracts, but they're often the reason those deals don't fall apart in the follow-up. That argument only works if you think revenue only comes from your hands, but that's not how growth works. Great EAs protect your time, your money, and your mental bandwidth. They don't just remove tasks, they remove risk. My EA was doing some budget reconciliation after an event we hosted. Now, technically, she didn't own the budget, but because she was cross-checking invoices and keeping a pulse on the details, she noticed a few charges that didn't belong. They'd been coded to our event budget, but were actually unrelated expenses. It might have seemed minor, but it directly impacted our line item, and if she hadn't caught it, it would have thrown off our margins and affected how we planned for the next event. That's the kind of behind-the-scenes work that make a massive difference. assistants. She wasn't just reconciling numbers, she was protecting strategic dollars and making sure we had an accurate picture for future growth. That's not admin work, that's leadership support. Still, there are leaders out there who think that only salespeople can drive growth. To them, I'd explain that while salespeople play an important role, they're not the only drivers of growth. In fact, sustainable growth comes from building a strong, scalable foundation across every part of the business. It's not just about closing deals, it's about creating systems, empowering teams, and fostering a culture of excellence. A great product or service, operational efficiency, and strong leadership are just as important. Sales will always be a key piece, but the engine that keeps it running is how well the rest of the business functions, how effectively you delegate, how you manage your resources, and how you enable every team member to contribute to the bigger vision. Growth comes from alignment. When everyone is working towards the same goal, from product development to customer service to operations, the sales team might bring in the customers, but the whole company keeps them coming back. Executive assistants aren't about efficiency or waiting until you think you deserve one. They're about clarity, margin, and leadership capacity. If you want to move out of reaction mode, this is how you start. Download Delegate to Elevate, my free guide to building support that actually works. You'll learn what to offload, how to communicate it, and how to create rhythms that protect your role as CEO. Links in the description. Start now before the burnout, the backlogs, or the business demands more than you can give.